Hey friends! In today's video, I'm going to share with you my go-to #1 foundation trick that I've been doing lately. The weather is changing, it's colder, it's drier, my skin doesn't know what's going on. And so I'm going to share with you guys how I get long wearing, medium to full coverage and a natural skin-like finish from my foundation. This has been a trick that I've been utilizing for the last month. I pretty much use it daily, and I think it is really going to help you with your foundation application. Okay, before we get started, I just want to say hi. If you are new to my channel, my name is Lisa. I'm a former makeup artist and former MAC Cosmetics trainer. I love teaching women makeup in a simple, understandable, and attainable way. You will find in my videos that I really like to explain things and make them like very digestible, very easy. So that is what we're gonna do today. First, let's get this hair back. I just curled it so it's a little big. Can we talk about these earrings? I love these earrings. I know they're a little fancy for just like a normal Tuesday in my sweater, but I think they're so beautiful. They are part of Kendra Scott's new holiday and winter collection. Okay, so let's chat real quickly about skin and what we are trying to achieve here. So I have prepped my skin with my normal skincare, my eye cream, my face cream, all of that. I am not gonna use a primer in this tutorial. A primer can certainly help keep your foundation on longer. Of course, it can also help kind of alter the finish of your foundation a bit. So I'm not opposed to primers, but for this particular trick, I don't really need a primer. Now, let's talk about the challenges that we have with our foundation, particularly right now, this time of year. Depending on where you live, most of us are experiencing colder temperatures this time of year than we do, you know, a few months ago. I live in Austin, Texas, so it doesn't get, you know, really, really cold here, but, you know, it's all relative, right? 40 degrees, 50 degrees to me is really cold. It's, you know, far contrast from the 100-degree temperature we had a few months ago. So my skin is drier. Normally, I look for a foundation that is good coverage, has a natural matte finish, because I do live in Austin, Texas, and like 8 months out of the year, it is really, really hot and foundation just melts right off of me. I really like long wearing, mattifying, finished foundations. I'm almost 38. I'll be 38 in literally like a month. So I'm gonna say I'm almost 40. So my skin, you know, is changing. It's not 25-year-old skin. So I have to be careful too with foundations that I use that are matte coverage, because sometimes matte can accentuate texture, make our skin look drier, and look a little heavier on, you know, aging or mature skin. So now I would like to share that while I say, you know, that my favorite foundations are going to be more on the natural matte side, they're going to have a medium coverage. I do have a video that went up not too long ago on my top skin-like foundation. So I will link that video down in the description box if you want to check that out. Foundation is obviously a very, very personal thing. What works great for me might not work great for you, so keep that in mind. I try and give as much information as I can on my personal skin type, so then you can kind of evaluate as like, okay, we have similar skin types, or this girl is not, you know, her recommendations are not going to work for me, and move on. My skin is pretty normal. It gets a little oily in the T-zone. Of course, my climate also contributes to that, but this time of year, it's definitely more dry. I put moisturizer in, and it just kind of like, my skin just absorbs it, and I feel like I need to, you know, I need more. So currently that's what my skin is like right now. You can see my skin without makeup. You know, it's pretty decent. I take care of it. I use good products. I get facials here and there, and I use sunscreen. So I don't have a lot of blemishes that I deal with. My biggest concerns for me are texture, which I have a lot of large pores here. That's also why radiant finish foundations don't really work for me, because they tend to accentuate that. I don't really like really glowy or dewy or satin finish foundations, just because they get really greasy looking on me throughout the day, and they also accentuate those pores, and I'm not about that. So what I like to do, my #1 trick, let's just dive right into it, is basically take one of my favorite matte, natural matte finish foundations and mix it with a more satin or dewy finish foundation. I call it a foundation cocktail, and I've talked about this in other videos, but in this video I really wanted to share, you know, why I do that and also which ones are my favorite, okay? So let's go and get started. We're gonna start with the application, and then I'll kind of talk and give tips throughout. My current favorite matte finish foundation of the moment is the Dior Forever. I love this. It is very long wearing. It has a natural matte velvety finish. It blurs texture in the skin. It makes my pores look more smooth. And it's not a thick consistency, which I like, and which is really important, particularly with this technique. You don't want a very thick matte finish foundation because you are mixing foundations. It's just nice to use more of a thinner more consistency. Now, this isn't watery by any means. You will see here, this is it on my hand. You'll see it's not watery, but if I sit here long enough, you'll slowly start to see that foundation slide down my hand. Again, it's not watery, but for a matte, more full coverage foundation, it's not heavy. Compared to like the Charlotte Tilbury Magic foundation, which is another one of my favorites. I love this foundation too. This Magic foundation is definitely a thicker consistency. You can see that it is not moving. It is pretty much staying right there in its place where you can see the Dior is starting to move. So that's when I'm talking about texture and thickness, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that right there, okay? Now, I will mix this sometimes with one of these, but it depends really on how much coverage you want and maybe your skin type. If you're more on the oily side, then you could get away with doing that. If you're more on the drier side, I would look for one that is a thinner consistency. Then you want to do a little bit of a luminous foundation mixed into it. Now, my three favorite here are the Cocondo Aqua Foundation. I really love this. This is really dewy looking. This leaves your skin looking like you just moisturized it, okay? So it's going to give you a pretty satin finish. The Makeup Forever Reboot is another one of my favorites. This is similar, maybe not as dewy looking as the Cocondo, but kind of right there. And then you have the It Cosmetics Your Skin But Better. Now this one is not as dewy. It is more of a softer radiant finish foundation. It is absolutely beautiful. I could wear this by itself all winter long and my skin and my makeup would just look like perfect. I love this foundation. I'm going to use actually the Makeup Forever Reboot. You can't really go wrong with any of them, to be honest. I just wanted to give you guys options. And I'm basically going to pump about half a pump of this into the Dior. So I don't know if you can tell, but I pumped half a pump of that, wait, right there. Okay, and then we are going to just mix them together with our foundation brush and apply them on the face. Now, I've heard people say sometimes they will apply a matte finish foundation in one area and then a dewy finish foundation in another area of their face, and that's another way to do it. I prefer to actually mix them together into one, one application so that both of the foundations are applied all over the face. I think you just get more of a consistent finish from that. Also too, if the shades are slightly off, which they all are gonna be, a little different, you're not gonna deal with that, variation of shade on your face. So I say just mix them together. And what this is gonna do is it's going to give you the benefits of that Dior foundation, which is longevity, okay? It's gonna give you that matte finish, but in a much softer skin-like way. It's actually gonna give you like a hybrid of matte and satin. It's just not gonna look dry. It's basically in a nutshell what I'm trying to say here. If you were to use the Dior by itself, it could very easily look drier when your skin is drier or when it's really cold. So this is that other foundation, the Reboot, is giving it some life. You're still gonna get that coverage from the Dior that you would get on its own. It's just going to look a lot more natural. It also helps the foundation spread a little bit more on the skin, so you don't need as much. Having that more dewy formula mixed into it is gonna give it more spread time, so that it doesn't dry and get patchy in certain parts. Not that it really does on its own, but these earrings are feeling real fancy. Oh, so pretty. So you can see that did a great job of covering, imperfections and flaws. It's not dewy or glowy. There's not a lot of shine here at all, but it's not flat matte, okay? Now, I'm gonna go ahead and apply my concealer. My go-to concealer right now is the Pat McGrath concealer. This might be my favorite formula of concealer ever. I have some other really great ones I like, but this one is just fantastic for me. Again, concealer is also very personal, like foundation. What I like about this one is it gives fantastic coverage, but it's not drying. It blends really easily. It has this really unique kind of like gel-like texture to it. It's just beautiful. I love it. I like to use the BK Beauty 108 brush to blend it in. You can see that it does it so quickly. Okay, so we've applied foundation and concealer. I'm gonna zoom you guys in a little close so you can see what the skin looks like immediately after application and before I set with powder. So this is what the skin looks like immediately after application. I haven't set with powder yet. We're gonna get there in just a second, but I wanted you guys to have a chance to look at the skin. You can see that my pores and texture on my cheeks is definitely softly blurred. You can see that the finish of this is a very natural finish with leaning towards a little more matte. Matte, but it doesn't look powdered, right? It doesn't look flat. It has a little bit of life, a little bit of luminosity in areas that needs it, but it's not shiny or greasy or dewy looking at all. Not that dewy is bad or greasy at all. I'm not trying to imply that. I'm just trying to say that, you know, the main goal for me is longevity. I want my foundation to look good all day. I have 2 young kids. I'm busy. I don't really think to touch up my makeup throughout the day. So I like to kind of put it on in the morning and really not really pay much attention to it the rest of the day. And I really feel like this combination, this trick allows you to get that without looking, you know, too heavy, like you have a mask on. Okay, the last thing we're gonna share about the foundation application process is the powder that you set it with. This is such an important part of the application, whether you choose to use powder or not. I always do. Again, I think it's because I live here in Texas and I'm like, no shine, no shine. But with that being said, I also don't wanna look heavy or matte. So I always look for a loose powder that is very lightweight and very silky and translucent. I don't like to go with something that has much color, if any at all. My kind of go-to powders right now, and I have 3 of them I'm going to share, and we'll use the less expensive one. I'll share that one first. The first one is the Revlon Candid powder, and I have the shade 001. I really like this. It's a very lightweight, soft powder, has a little bit of brightness to it. I also like the By Terry. This is the Hydra Care setting powder, and I have the shade Natural, also a really beautiful powder. Also, any of these powders I'm sharing can be used underneath the eyes and on the face. I do believe there are certain powders that will not do your under eye area any favors, and you shouldn't use them under the eye. These are safe in my opinion. Of course, you don't want to be too heavy-handed. And then the last one is the Fenty Beauty. This is the loose powder, Pro Filtr powder in the shade Butter. This also is going to give a very slight brightening effect to it, but none of these are going to give you that really highlighted baked look because we're not really going for that. We're going to use the Revlon Candid. Now, important thing to keep in mind with loose powder when you set is less is more so much, you guys. You know, the whole idea is not to get this real like matte flat look. So we can do all we want with the foundation that we just did, but if we go in with the powder and just kind of, you know, apply too much or the wrong powder, then we kind of, you know, we're kind of working against the purpose here. So I like to use a small brush. I've really been into using a smaller powder brush versus like, you know, a larger one at the moment. This is the 104. I like to use something like this, the small 108 at the moment, just because I don't want too much. My skin is already dry. Now I've dipped it into the powder, but I'm actually going to go and blot it on my hand. I mean, I'm telling you guys, I really try and apply a very small amount. And the first place I'm going to put it is my nose, because that's where I tend to get a little oily. That's where if I get sweaty on my face, that's where I'll sweat. It's kind of gross, but it's true. And then I'll just go in and kind of press in the center of my face where I have pores or I get a little oily. Then I'm going to take a little bit and I'm going to put it right underneath my eyes. Not much. My pressure is very, very light as well. And, you know, just kind of powder where you need it. For me, that's under the eyes, the nose, the cheeks, and maybe the chin. But I don't really bring powder over here too much. Maybe during the summer I will, but during the winter, there's really no need for me to do that. Okay, so this is how the skin looks now. I'm gonna go in and apply the rest of my makeup and I'll be right back. And this is the finished look. I wanted you guys to get another close-up of the skin before we zoom out. So I have set with a little bit of loose powder, which you guys saw in the last clip, and then I've just applied the rest of my makeup. You can see that the finish, again, is just like this softest matte finish. It's not overly flat, heavy, or dry looking, but you do get that. I guess the biggest benefits that you're going to get out of combining these foundations or doing this little trick is going to be that you're going to have the smoothness and pore blurring effect that more of a matte finish foundation will give you. You're also going to have the longevity that more of a matte finish foundation is going to give you, but you're going to get the benefit of it looking more natural and skin-like and less flat or heavy by adding in that more satin dewy finish foundation. I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you end up trying this tip or trick and it works great for you, come back and let me know. I love to hear. I'd also love to hear which combination of foundations you ended up using. I will have the ones that I love linked down below for you guys, but don't feel that you have to rush out and grab these. Again, these might not be your perfect combination. It's all about finding what works for you and your skin type and your skin concerns. I think the key really is finding a matte foundation that works for you and then finding a satin finish that works for you. Whether you gravitate and lean towards more preference of one, like I do with mattes. Find one type in the other formula that that works for you and that tolerates your skin well, and then just combine the two. Play with the combination that you mix. Maybe mix more of the dewy one time, more of the matte. That'll also give you a different result. It's really fun. I feel like it's really fun to kind of experiment and find new tips and tricks that work for you. I hope you guys found this video helpful. I will have everything that I used on my face in case you're curious what's on my eyes and my lips. I'll have all of that linked in the description box for you as well. Thank you guys so much for spending some time with me today. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys.